Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of the UV Effect Podcast. Thank you again for joining me for another episode, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Gabrielle Jordan. I am your host, and today we have a new case study. Her name is Dr. Daphne, and she is a intuitive business coach, which is a term I'd never heard before, but as we went throughout this process, I began to completely understand why she has that title. She's an incredibly intuitive person, and it won't take too long to guess that it is one of her innate gifts, but that's the only spoiler I'm going to give you. She's incredible. She's an older woman, but she's going strong with her work and in her business. And she also has an affinity for caregiving. She used to be a nurse in Jamaica. I'll talk a little bit about that later. She's a really awesome woman. I really loved talking with her. I loved being able to do this with her because she was just so great energy, so communicative, but also was really great at listening and was really open to what it is that I was sharing and what I wanted to help her gain. And, it was just wonderful. Especially with that whole cross-generational being able to have communications within different generations. So it was just an all-around great conversation. I think you're really going to enjoy this episode because she shares lots of nuggets of wisdom in this. So keep your ears open and So make sure before we hop in, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And also, if you would like to be a part of the UV Effect research study, identify, define, and embrace your unique value, make sure to go to GabrielleJordanInspires.com/research to submit an application. All right, let's jump into it. All right. So to start us off, I actually wanted to backtrack a little bit and share this little bit of information about her. Like I had shared before, she used to be a nurse in Jamaica, and she was telling me these stories, and I wanted to put them in here, but I just didn't have the time. So I'll just kind of recap and what I got from it. But, back when she was in Jamaica and she was nursing, and she was telling me how she would always get into these conversations with people, like the people that she was caregiving. She was always getting conversations, talking to them, helping them, listening to them, just always talking. And I just think that that's an important note to start us off on because you'll see that that's a big part of who she is, and how she connects with people is really through that form of open and authentic communication. How would you describe your relationship with your profession?
I am very intense, and I approach everything with an intention. So, for example, when I'm listening, I listen with intent, and I am very keen on thought-provoking questioning. I'm always one question after another, and I operate that way because it always expands on what I'm looking to acquire.
So I'm going to take us into that first moment, which was, an early question about her relationship to her profession. I felt like it bled in nicely with what we were talking about before in terms of the way that she communicates and what that means, especially with when she's talking about that intention behind how she, listens and speaks with people, especially within her work. It's a little window here into how she operates with others, what she intends to do in relationships and in conversation. There is purpose behind what she does, which I think is quite unique in terms of just the people that I've interviewed so far for this process. Most individuals have not come in straight away with that mindset. There have been a few, but that's already a unique mindset at this point. You could chalk it up to age, to experience, but also you could chalk it up to identity. What percentage of total enjoyment out of 100% do you get from your profession as a whole?
85.
85? Mm-hmm. How come?
Mm-hmm. Because everything I'm doing is helping people to transform their lives and make their life better in some way.
I love that. I feel like you're going to do really well in the next one, the define section.
Wow.
Yeah. She did. But yeah, no, I mean, that, again, this piggybacks back on to what I was saying before in terms of that intention and why, and that goes into why she loves her career. You know, she's doing what she aspires to do, which is transform and change and help people's lives. And that goes into the intention, or the intention that she is set out to do. We'll delve into that more as we keep going. But in this next moment, we are in the point where we are trying to identify some of her internal abilities, right? Those internal skills and talents, like creativity, critical thinking, mental flexibility, whatever it is, right? There's many, many, many internal gifts, things that aren't necessarily seen visibly from the outside, but are what influence our ability to do external skills and talents and things like that, right? So we're doing that now, and we're in this moment where I'm trying to help her to really get a grasp of what I mean by that and help her to find an internal ability that explains something that she does well, which a word that she was trying to use was encouraging people, or empowering, I think was the word. And I was trying to help her to see that empowering someone, that's more of an external result, right? That's an external skill, an external ability. So what is it that's happening internally that is allowing for her to be able to empower others, to push others, to encourage others, for that result to take place?
So I think it's a connection.
Yeah.
If not empowerment, then it's connection.
So
I don't know.
So I believe that empowering is a word that would describe what you do, but in figuring out an internal ability,
yeah,
it's something that is not seen until you do something physically, right? Empowering is something that is a physical action. I would imagine. I mean, maybe you think it's something different, but I think that's where I'm coming from. It seems like a physical thing.
No, I'm looking at it. You're correct, because they are showing up and leaving. They are empowered to come back the next time.
Right.
But
okay.
What happened when they came the first time is what we're looking for.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So that's why I was thinking, I mean, again, it doesn't have to be the word empathy, but that's why I was thinking along the terms of empathy, because it's something that you are internally, which is seen by others through the work that you do or through how you are able to empower someone, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So what empowers an individual? Like, what about you do you find is empowering?
Is my sensitivity to the need.
Okay, so that was a really powerful, important moment right there, especially for her as she was working to look inward to see what it is that allows her to do the things that she does best for others. And so as she gained better understanding of this point, we were able to continue to apply it to other things. And one other moment we were talking about, this connectivity that she has with others when she does interviews. She does interviews for her work. And again, we were trying to figure out, okay, so what internal abilities, apologies. There's a big difference. We can explain that later. But what internal abilities allows for her to, really excel as an interviewer. And so, and she was talking about how she's very good at being able to read people and be able to understand things about them that they might not have noticed yet, but or didn't even have to say out loud yet. She's able to discern that kind of that information. And she talks about how, she really connects and sees and hears people for more than just what's on the outside, but again, what's inside. And so she was able to pull out a few other words that really exemplified what it was, right? Those internal abilities that allow her to do so well as an interviewer. And these were that.
So it's compassion, empathy, the connection, and the ability to see inside without their telling me.
And this is also a very important point to take away as a listener, because when you think about, we often think about why we do what we do, right? But do we ever really think about why we do what we do in terms of why we are so capable of doing what we're doing, right? Yeah, sometimes we learn skills. Most of the time we're learning and we're growing. But also, why are some people better at things than others, right? Why do some people gravitate towards some areas and excel in those areas better than some other people do, right? And why do those other people gravitate to different areas, or in specific areas they do much better than the other person might do, right? Why? And that is what this whole section is uncovering. And as we finished up here in this section with identifying her final list of innate gifts, we get to this wonderful point where we see how this kind of comes full circle in terms of not just, why she does what she does like in her work, but also who she is as a communicator, as a person who wants to talk and speak to people. So let me first share her final list of innate gifts, and then I want to share with you that last moment, which was really interesting. All right. So that's your list of innate gifts. You are intuitive, or your innate gifts are intuition, empathy, sensitivity, understanding, discernment, insight, and authentic, or authenticity. And that would make sense because a lot of your innate gifts, it would seem that a lot of your innate gifts go into why you're a communicative person. Being sensitive, compassionate, perceptive, insightful. It almost it almost urges you to want to talk and get in and talk to people and learn about people and
exactly,
all of that. Okay.
Exactly. You remember when I back in the hospital?
Yes.
In Jamaica?
Yes. That's exactly what I'm thinking about right now.
I'm always talking, Everything I do, I got to talk to you. Why do I have to talk?
Yeah.
I got to talk to you. I just see people, I got to talk to them. Don't know why.
Yeah. Okay. This is good. I love that. It's natural, right? It's innate for her. She doesn't know why. She always has to talk to people, but it's natural. It's innate. And her innate gifts lend to that innate ability. So now we're going to go ahead and move on over to step 2, defining how what makes her unique allows her to provide unique value in the world, her unique value.
Okay, so for value to me would be in the sense that I'm operating in my true gift and calling, because it helps me to help others to be true to their gifting and calling so that they too can bring impact and value to whatever work or career or vocation they are doing. So it's not necessarily monetary gain, but the impact, the transformation, the empowerment, and all of those things.
Mm-hmm. So the question I just asked in this last moment was how she would define value, the word itself. And, her answer was spot on. That's exactly what we're looking to answer for her, what we're looking to define for her in this whole step. So it takes us right into our next moment, where I'm asking her, basically, it's a question about her greatest impact. The greatest impact that she finds that she makes when she's the most impactful. And her response is really good. And she talked earlier, she actually had mentioned when she answering this question in the beginning, she said when she listens and her ability to listen. And that, of course, goes right back to what we were talking about in the beginning. But what I really liked was another aspect of her response where she she noted about it earlier, but it really rounded itself out here, which was really good.
Yesterday we mentioned about resilience. So when I am working with somebody who has had some setbacks or misfortune in life, I help them to become resilient. That is helping them to see that there is value in the gifts that they have. And by understanding how to use those giftings, it will help them to have a different lifestyle. It can also help them to accomplish something that they thought they could not accomplish. For example, somebody who never went to college, they would think that because I don't have a degree, I'm not qualified to do X, Y, Z, and that's so far from the truth. If you believe in that gift you have and you follow through with it, you can also impact somebody else to do the same thing. The accolades has nothing to do with that.
That's excellent. I love that. It's a wonderful response and a great window into her final, her unique value and what she does best for people. She summed it up so well there that it basically lends to what her final statement is. But I loved that answer so much. I had to include that, especially with what it is that first part, that resilience, building resilience. I love how that kind of comes full circle later. So keep an ear out for that.
And then also on the other side of that, when would you say that you provide the least impact?
If I allow judgment to cloud my insight or vision, that hinders the impact that I will give. So I have to continuously work on that aspect of who I am, not to be clouded by prejudice of any sort. Not only ethnic prejudice, but demographics and all of the other things that could bring prejudice into a conversation.
Right. And then, even in those situations, right, where judgment and prejudice happens, how do you tend to respond in those types of situations? And would you contribute that to why you find that the impact is least great?
When that happens, I am not approaching the situation authentically. I'm second guessing what the delivery ought to be. Because when I'm in my full authenticity, I flow. I don't have to filter. I just flow. But if judgment creeps in for whatever reason, then I'm filtering, I'm giving but holding back.
Let's go ahead and remove ourselves from, the research study aspect of this for a second and just take a nice hold on that point right there, because that was so powerful and important to right here, right now, today, right? Man. That's what we're dealing with. We've been dealing with that forever. The prejudices and the ideas and the expectations that we have for people in different groups and demographics based off of what we think, know, heard, whatever. It really does hinder our ability to see people and give ourselves to people, to open ourselves to people who might need, what we have to offer, who might need us, who might just need to be seen, who's just human, and who needs to be connected with just like anybody else. And that point for her where she's saying how judgment and prejudice can very much limit and hold back her ability to really impact people the way that she is designed to is powerful, especially because judgment and prejudice, it's such a huge cause. It causes this dehumanizing filter to go on top of people. You have rose-colored glasses. We have prejudice, and judgment is dehumanizing colored glasses. We see them as we just start to see people based off of expectations. We stop seeing people as individuals, but rather as just an expectation of what this human should be or what this human is based off of probably context that we don't even really understand. So I think that this response doesn't just apply to her. I'm sure that if, obviously this is talking about her specifically, but really thinking about this could limit and does limit a lot of people from being able to connect and impact and reach people the way that they can, the way that they should, because we are so busy and so caught up in what we think a person should be. When we think of what a group should act like, a race should be, instead of just looking at an individual and deciding to learn about who they are. Now, stepping back into the research, I take this next moment to look at these two sides, the greatest impact and least impact, and kind of see how they, what that means and regarding what that impact is that she makes in people's lives, and just making that comparison, making it clear, because I thought that it was really interesting. I love to see how these two answers reflect each other and what it reveals.
What you had written, what you were talking about earlier about helping those, I'll write what I had summed up with what you were saying, but helping those with setbacks to become resilient in order to accomplish something they did not know they could accomplish. I mean, that encapsulates a lot of what you've been talking about. And then also with that listening, because you have to be able to really hear where that person is coming from, what they might be struggling with in order to help them the way they need to. But I'm assuming that too, people that you're helping, that not everybody is, we're not made for everybody to help everybody, but for those that we are trying to help, right? Yes. You have to be that authentic individual in order to respond, with instinct, and to respond with your intuition and not second guess what needs to be said. Okay. Right. I love that.
Okay, so that's great. And, from this, we're really getting a picture painted, about regarding what her value, her impact looks like, and her unique value, what that looks like. And, as she... From that response and, how she connects with people, how she impacts people, I had asked her in this next moment a question about, how often it's seen in her personal life and her professional life. And her response was very affirming in terms of that we are on the right track and figuring out what it is that is her unique value.
I just let things flow and things just happen. Without me even realizing, I'm not making the effort to give them advice or information. That's how I am. That's how I converse. So during that conversation, something valuable is going to be said.
I love that she can say that so boldly and so confidently. She's, no matter what conversation, no matter what situation, something valuable is going to come out of my mouth. And I just, I think there's just something so wonderful about leading a life like that, where, every moment you recognize the value in every moment, and especially recognizing your own value in these moments. I think that's just, what a nugget there. I think that's wonderful. I think we should all be aspiring to live a life like that, where our value is being seen in every moment we're being led into. So as we step in to this final moment here within step 2, define, we are getting to her final unique values statement. It was actually quite an easy process. We were able to see how her innate gifts and her impact work together to define her unique value. I came out with my version of her statement, which was, my unique value is having the freedom to connect with individuals for the purpose of helping them to reach their potential. And we both agreed that that was a really good bone, a good structure for how she would define her unique value. But as she gave me the meat to this bone, these bones, in this final moment here, it completely and utterly gave us everything that we needed to create and define her final statement.
when we operate in our true calling and soul purpose, we don't have to second guess what we're doing. We go out there and do the work to the best of our ability.
Mm-hmm.
So if when I understand that when I came to this universe, I came with an assignment of a job that I have to do, which is my sole purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, and how I always tell people, we all have our inner blueprint that is supposed to give us the success. A lot of times we don't start off understanding it. We do different things that eventually get us to open that blueprint that we need to be using. So I can help to give a clearer understanding of why it is okay to tap into that inner blueprint of success, that plan that I came with. I don't have to re-architect it or nothing like that, because it is ready to work so long as I plug it in to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm helping them to accept the freedom to open that book, the blueprint, the inner blueprint, open it and use it.
Wow. Okay. If you didn't gather that, go back, listen. I encourage you to. But I mean, that was wonderful. I mean, what she's saying there is wonderful. And I'll sum it up a little bit is, that, and it really goes along the lines of what it is that I'm talking about here, that we are all born with purpose, like every other thing in the world, everything that man creates, everything that God has created, nature and life, and every single thing is created with a purpose in mind. And so are we. And so we come to this world, we're born into this world, and we have this purpose. But like she said, so many people end up going in different directions or seeking it out in other ways and are missing what is already there, trying to find something that's not. And what she's saying is that what she can do and what she does for people, or that impact that she makes, is helping people to realize that, to see what's already there. And the way that she does that is because she has this way, and she talks about this earlier, this way, like we talked about, connecting with people, this way of reaching people and understanding people on their inside through the way that she loves and connects and communicates. And so she's able to do that for people, help them to recognize, and I love that term, their inner blueprint. And as soon as she said that, those words, I knew that had to be in the final statement. And so at this point now, I will actually share with you her final statement, which was wonderful. And it was this: my unique value is having the freedom to connect deeply with one's internal blueprint for the purpose of guiding them to unrealized potential. Powerful. Very powerful. So now we're going to go ahead, finish everything off with step 3, embrace. And I just want to share a couple moments from this, specifically within the profession aspect. As you may remember, or if you're new here, step 3, embrace, we work to help the individual be more intentional now about utilizing their unique value and the effects that it can have in their personal life, professional life, and the lives of people, the people that they serve best. And so I just want to share a couple moments from the beginning of that, and then also from the second P, professional, and how she was answering that, because when she did reach out to me about being a part of the research, she was specifically interested in using her unique value for her work and advancing in her career and being more intentional about her purpose in her work. And so there were some good nuggets in that moment too. So let's go ahead and hop right in there with the first question.
In what ways have you unintentionally, so unconsciously, unintentionally, been utilizing your unique value? So basing this off of the statement, How have you used your unique value in the past without really noticing it or recognizing it?
When I encounter, communicate, interact, meet people, the way I converse, I am always looking for them to accomplish more or to reach higher heights. That's not my intention, but that is what ended up happening.
It is interesting here that she says that it's not her intention, because in the beginning of this episode, we were talking about how intention is really big for her in terms of when she's communicating. But that moment clarifies something to me in terms of her unique value and the way that she operates in the world, is that her intention going into a conversation with someone is always to connect deeply, right? That goes back to her statement, connect deeply with an individual, to reach them and to know them, to learn about them. And then what always ends up happening, right, not necessarily the intention, but the impact that is caused, is that she's able to impart wisdom, information, knowledge, something that will help them, that will push them to grow, to see more, and to go beyond what they realized that they were capable of. And she's only able to do that because, for her, she's able to do that because she is so authentically and genuinely understanding that person and seeks that understanding and seeks that connection and knowledge about who they are inside and not just out. So it's very interesting to see that, very clearly written out there, because that's the goal here. Our goal is to see how that cause and effect is occurring, right? What we go into a situation wanting to do, and what inevitably will come out of it every single time. It might look different with different people, but it's the same cause and effect. That's what UV is all about. Purpose. That's it. And when we are authentic about just living with who we are and operating as who we are, we will always find ourselves in opportunities, whether purposeful or not, intentional or not, to live in that purpose and provide that impact that we're designed to make. And with that, that'll take us into our final moment here in the profession section. Like I said before, there was a little nugget I wanted to share with you all. So let's go ahead and go into that moment now.
And the last question is, how can your unique value be utilized more in your profession? And this can be better answered if you think about the areas in which maybe you don't really like, the aspects of your work that you don't really like as much, or that you're not particularly as good at. You can think about those realms, but like, how can you implement your unique value more? How can you be using it more in your work?
I need to look on how can I, or maybe the word is, what can I implement to help me to utilize that? Honestly, right this minute, I don't know what the answer is, but that doesn't mean by the time this conversation ends, I won't have it, but I don't have the answer right now.
Yeah, and that's totally fine, because this question is not necessarily supposed to be like you're supposed to have the answer. It's more so like a thought-provoking one, just to kind of get the brain going, because the whole point of this process is that once an individual understands their unique value, that they are weaving it, through all the aspects of their work, right?
And it's going to give me the opportunity to play bigger games.
Exactly. And you were actually saying,
I don't know what field I'm going to be playing the games in, but I'm open to accepting more fields.
Yes, exactly.
Later on, we came back to this question, and she actually ended up answering it, talking about, ways to use for like marketing and depicting her unique value in order just to set herself apart and attract, the right clients and all of that, and collaborate and join ventures and everything like that. So the question was answered later on, but I wanted to include this particular moment because it really taps onto a big aspect of like one of the big goals of, for me when I came up with or was developing this concept of unique value and wanting to help people to uncover their unique value, a big part of it was to help them to broaden their horizons of what they're capable of, right? To see that their current passion or their current career or their current job is not all that they're capable of. Even if you feel like it's the thing that you're meant to do, I'm sure that it's, if you have that much passion for it, that it is absolutely something you are meant to do. But I also think it's important to realize that not everything is permanent. You never know what's going to happen in the world. And it's so, so, so important that we do not place our identity on these uncontrollable circumstances, on things that aren't actually who we are, that we aren't placing our identity on the external, that we are truly understanding that who we are is internal, it's inside. And however that is seen in the world, that is just the result of our identity. That's just the result of who we are. That's just the result of our unique value. So I like that she was talking about that, it'll expand, her, the different areas that she could pursue, that she didn't know exactly how, she could use it right now, but it'd help her to see the different ways that she could. And that's the whole point. To help us to see how limitless, our potential really is and how much we are truly capable of. So I love that moment. And so with that, we go ahead and end off. Yeah, that's it for today. I thought that this was a really good conversation. She's really wonderful, wonderful woman. It's actually really funny or interesting because during the part when we were doing her statement, during the entire interview, I was really noticing that a lot of who she is and a lot of what she does was very similar to me, or should I say it the other way around since she's older than I am. But it was very similar. And I was kind of like, she might have a very similar unique value than I do, or is mine, which I had not experienced yet. But I was being prepared for. I was getting myself ready for when I would find someone with a very similar unique value as mine. And y'all don't know mine yet. That'll be shared at the end of this season. The final episode of this season, I'll share my unique value journey, my case study. But when we were doing her final statement, I had to really fight. Like, it was something interesting. I really had to. It was a test for me, really, in a way, as like this new researcher, right? It's me, like I'm a new, researcher. I've never done a research study before. This is new to me. And so this was like a real test to not be biased in achieving like a certain result that I wanted for hers to be different and very, very different than mine, so that I could achieve this like whole, it's everything super, super unique and stuff. Like I really had to make sure that I was just focusing on finding her unique value and not comparing it to my own and not trying to make it seem more different. So it was a really great test. Her unique value statement was very similar to mine. It was very similar to my unique value statement, but I did find its differences. I could naturally see its differences, which was great too, to be able to uncover. And it meant more because it was real and it wasn't me trying to, create a result that I wanted, rather just actually focusing on letting the process work its way out. So that was really interesting, but I just wanted to share that little moment. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this episode of The UV Effect. I hope that you enjoyed learning about Miss Daphne's unique value and hearing her story and hearing about, the ways that she, pushes people to help them to seek more, see their internal blueprint. I love that. If you enjoyed this episode, or if you connected with anything that Miss Daphne said or that I said, be sure to share and be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss another episode. Also, if you're interested in being a part of the UV Effect research study, having the opportunity to identify, define, and embrace your unique value, be sure to go to GabrielleJordanInspires.com/research to submit an application, and you could be, living through your unique value right now. So thank you again so much for joining me. I will see you next Thursday, or the Thursday after next. And yeah, see you then.